So it's hard to believe that, this year marked 10 years since the Soft-Reboot occurred in the Archie Sonic books. And this month in particular, at least this time frame, marks the conclusion 10 years ago of the rebooted arc that reintroduced the freedom fighters to a new audience and into a new world with, basically new game-inspired designs, if you will. And, even though after that, we got a decent, story arc, a very lengthy, decent story arc that I believe basically showed that Ian Flynn and his crew can do, very lengthy story arcs, properly, but do them in a way to where they don't feel like one, consistent, continuation, repetitive, story where it's just basically the same thing happening over and over and over again. But instead, it was done in a way to where each arc, either in the main book or in universe, felt like its own deal. It felt like, you didn't have to wonder whether or not it connected to this world crisis arc. You could just read it and enjoy it for what it was. But despite that, I think when people look back at the Return of the Freedom Fighters, and they look back at the World Crisis arc, there's a little bit of them as fans that look back at it with spite. And I'm not talking, very much spite. I'm talking spite in a way that's like, we didn't get resolution. And it's always been a triggering point. It's always been a triggering point for fans when they talk about this. I mean, you go on X.com, Twitter, if you will, and people will bring up the fact that anytime, the hourly Archie Sonic Twitter page puts up a page, a selective page from the Archie book, and it has something to do with the Mecha Sally arc, or even afterwards, people, they still sour on that arc, period. They still sour on that Mecha Sally arc because they feel that it shouldn't have been done in the first place, which I agree with. It shouldn't have. And even if you were going to do it, as I've mentioned before, the best links in doing it, both in the main and the spin-off comics, was mainly 6 to 8 issues. You could do 6 issues in the main, maybe 6 issues in universe, and you'd be good. You didn't have to, conglomerate it all together and just, continuously shove it down people's throats in a very repetitive manner, because that's what got people sick and tired of it. Also, the fact that they didn't like the idea that you took someone's sacrifice, if you will, which you could have easily put them into a coma for. Let's be honest. They didn't like that you took this sacrifice and basically spat all over it. They didn't like the fact that you took this relationship that you had basically been rebuilding, brick by brick by brick between Sonic and Sally, and basically thrown it in the trash by doing what you did. They weren't too thrilled about that. And when they look at the rebooted Return of the Freedom Fighters arc from 252 to about 256, it's like to them, it feels like you basically, really didn't care about having a resolution, to the whole story. It felt like, well, nothing I can do about, the behind the scenes issues. So here, I'll just say, this happened and we'll restore Sally that way. I mean, the only thing you did to kind of give a conclusion, a bittersweet conclusion, is have her memory get restored and her remembering exactly what occurred, and then her trying to make atone for it, only for that memory and everything to be wiped away. Not even taking an opportunity for her to be one of the very few, kind of like a callback to the Genesis arc he did back in the main book, not even taking the opportunity to have her and Sonic, and maybe to an extent Tails, but mostly her and Sonic, have memories of the old world, so that when they confront Eggman, you could have that confrontation between her and Eggman, and she can remind him of what he did, because he'd still have remnants of the old world too. You didn't give us any bit of a satisfactory conclusion. All you did was basically have that moment that she had, and that was it. And then after that, it was just wiped away. Completely. It was just wiped away completely. So I think, that's why people, when they look at the reboot, even though the story that followed afterwards, the Sonic Unleashed World Crisis arc, a lot of people have mixed reactions to it. I look at that and I say that's probably the best example of doing a very lengthy story arc, but doing it in a way to where, each part of it feels like its own, individual arc, like it has no connection to World Crisis or Sonic Unleashed, and you could just read it and view it as its own thing. And I think that's something that hopefully they'll take into the future once, while they're continuing the IDW books. But the point is, though, others, they'll look at that story arc, they'll look, at the Return of the Freedom Fighters, and even though they might enjoy what's given to them, again, like I said, there's a part of them that just feels pissed off, because it's like, we didn't get any true resolution. We didn't get any, face off between her and Eggman, and her, with the memories of the old world, and him probably having the same thing, as well. Her basically confronting him, maybe with her ring blades, and saying, you made me do things I never would do, and I'm not about to show you mercy, or something like that. Instead, you just have her wanting to atone for what she did, and Nicole, talking her down and everything, and her getting reminded of who she is and who she helped inspire and stuff in this world, and then that's it. That's all we get. That's all the resolution we get. So I'm not surprised that when you look back 10 years later at this reboot, at this, retcon, soft or not, that it gets a mixed reaction from fans. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised that, some like it, some don't. Some feel like they should have been more than just, hey, Nicole talking her down, calming her down, reminding her who she is, and and then that's it. I get where they're coming from. But that's the situation that I think Ian Flynn is learning from now, because of the fact that I believe, and I've said this before, I think he knew more than he was letting on about what was going on legally between Ken Penders and Archie Comics and Sega. I think he did know. He just couldn't say much because of, let's say, NDA reasons. But still, that doesn't change the fact that, he could have done something more with the resolution. And why this rebooted, retconned world of Mobius in the Archie Sonic books and the stories that came along with it, got the mixed reaction that it did. But, I was fine with it. Like I said, I thought it was the best example of doing a lengthy story arc, correctly. That's how I saw it. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Let me know in the live chat your thoughts and everything. And until next time, guys, I'd love, until next time, let me know your thoughts. And do you agree with some of the things I said? And until then, I will talk to you all later.